be a good record. And I said 5-4 coming out of that's a win. 5-4 or better, excellent. You're doing fine. You maintain the momentum you had going into the break. You're in good shape. Right now, they're looking at, based on their current pace, 3-6, potentially 2-7, although they could go 5-4 if they sweep the Dodgers, which I'm not holding my breath on. But my personal feeling, there is nothing worse than a win in any series to avoid a sweep. Nothing. Because it gives you a little taste of a win coming out of it, and you say, oh, that's good. We didn't get swept, but you still didn't win the series. And at the end of the day, baseball is about 3-game series. You either win them or you don't. And think of the swing game in that series as making all the difference in the world. The Red Sox couldn't even get to a swing game against the Cubs and the Phillies. So to me, winning the finale, all it does is kind of put lipstick on the pig. So I equate it to being down by 25 points in a game in the NBA against a good team, and then they take their foot off the gas. You rally in the fourth quarter and you lose by 7. And then you know what everybody says after the game? Wow, look at that. They hung in there. They only lost by 7 to the best team in the league. When the reality is, no, you kind of got your ass kicked, and you've got one on the way out the door, but that's probably only because they let you get one, which is exactly what happened last night with Philadelphia. The Phillies gave that game away more than the Red Sox won it.
Or the Red Sox cheated to victory.
Okay, so there's that too. They might have been able to, I say steal signs, but if, what was the guy's name last night? Luzardo? If the pitcher for the Phillies last night was tipping pitches, that's his problem. So if the Red Sox can pick up on that, great. But this gets back to the point of, is that the only way they can beat a good team?
Feels like it, yes. And they're better at home, so.
So that's the worrisome part of the whole thing. And then again, what impact does it have on the trading deadline? That's the fallout of it. If you are Red Sox ownership and management right now, meaning John Henry or anyone in between, John Henry, Tom Werner, Sam Kennedy, Craig Breslow, and you just watched the 6 games you watched, are you justified in not making a move? Because you might be. I think they should make one either way. I think they're in it. I think the American League can be had. And I'm always going to push on that part of it if the Red Sox are a decent team. And I've said this over and over, too, that with the young guys they have, don't you want them playing in important games down the stretch in September? Don't you want them playing in playoff games in October so that the second time through, whenever that is, that Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer and Christian Campbell, if he comes back, or Brian Bayo or Wilyer Abreu, Ceddanne Rafaela, whoever it is that you're talking about, that they get into big games, they experience it, and then they become better big-time players as a result. That should be the goal. And if that means adding players at the deadline and good ones, then the Red Sox should be doing that. And they should be adding pitching that can help them for the longer term. Not a rental. Make a real trade. And if it's a guy like Joe Ryan, and I keep using him because he signed for 2 years after this one, if that's the kind of player, good. Because he's going to be part of it going forward. Your young guys aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And I don't count Durant as a young guy. After the game last night, Alex Cora was asked a number of different questions about the importance of the win or the potential for a springboard or the quality of the competition. And I found his mood to be rather sour. He was a little grumpy. And they won the game. So let me play the sound for you first, because then I have a question about Cora, too. He seemed short with the media to me. I'm not really sure why. Maybe he's just sick of the media. You get to this time of year.
I guess.
I used to set my watch to it, Jimmy Stewart. Right when you got past the trading deadline, Terry Francona would air me out once a year, every year. And I sort of started accepting the fact that he was just sick of seeing me.
That feels low.
Well, so there were other flare-ups that weren't as severe, but there was at least one time a year where he would basically call me an a-hole.
Again, feels low.
Then he would apologize to it and we'd be fine, and that would be the end of it, and. But anyway, the final exchange Cora had last night was with Alex Spear of the Boston Globe. And I've said this a million times as well. Alex Spear is as fair and balanced a reporter who has ever come through Fenway Park. And a good one. Insightful, detail-oriented, provides you with information and analytics and data, all of which have value. So I think very highly of Alex. So, and I think just about everyone does. He's not the kind of guy that goes around picking fights. He's just not. Here's the exchange.
You guys have played well against five teams, 500 or better, but against the elite of elite, it had been more of a struggle. Are games like this, wins against teams like that, significant?
I mean, who's elite for you?
The teams that are more than 10 games above 500.
Okay, well, I don't have the stat, I just feel like we play well against everybody. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. We're good. Thank you.
Okay, bye. Bye, gotta go. Yeah, I think we play well against everybody. See you later. Bye. The other thing I love is the way the Cora answered the question. Well, who's elite for you? And Spear had an answer.
Do you know why? Because Alex Spear was on the Harvard debate team. You're not going to win a debate or an argument with Alex Spear. And Cora knew it.
And that was Cora's
And that's why he exited, the coward.
That was Cora's way of saying, oh, so these guys qualify as elite, but the Rays don't. So okay, so what's your definition of elite, smart guy? That's what that was. That was Cora saying, really? Oh, elite? Okay, well, what's your definition of elite? Alex Spear thought about it for about a half second, maybe a full second, and said, well, 10 games over 500 or better.
And then Cora went,
we're good. Thank you.
Yeah. And even before that, Jimmy, what did he say right away when Spear said that? Do you remember? He said, well, go ahead, play it.
It's the elite of elite. It had been more of a struggle. Are games like this, wins against teams like that, significant?
I mean, who's elite for you?
The teams that are more than 10 games above 500.
Okay, well, I don't have the stat, I just feel like we play well against everybody. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Oh, you
good? Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Goodbye. We don't have the stat. I don't have the stat. Oh, well then how come you asked him? So he was just busting Alex's balls because he's getting tired of this, we can't beat good teams. And you know why? Because they can't beat good teams. That's why. So I wonder, what got under Cora's skin last night? And I have a bunch of different theories. One, he knows his team can't compete with the big boys and he gets frustrated. Two, maybe he knows that they're going to leave him hanging again at the trade deadline and they're not going to get him the help that he wants. Could it be that he's now starting to feel the same way? They're going to hang me out to dry again? And as the second part of number two, I'll call it number three, but it's really... that was part A. This is part B. Related to the fact that they're going to leave him hanging at the trade deadline, he told his players about a month ago, right around the time that they traded Rafael Devers, we can't complain about the front office and management anymore, so we're not going to do that because we haven't earned anything in the last 4 years. We've done nothing over the last 4 years. So is he getting pissed again about the deadline? And does he not want to say anything now because he can't? And that is causing more frustration when he knows they need help, and he's going to send Lucas Giolito out to the mound against the Cubs and the Phillies in 2 series in which Giolito allowed 5 home runs in 9 innings, had an ERA of almost 9, and basically dug holes for the Red Sox in the first inning of both games he pitched. Now, they won last night, but they didn't win because of Giolito. So, all of this ultimately, inevitably, comes back to the trade deadline and the Red Sox approach. Who do they want to be? What are they going to be over the next 4 or 5 years, even when Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony hit their prime? If Wilyer Abreu's still here, or Brian Bayo pans out, or Rafaela pans out, Christian Campbell comes back, what are they going to be? What do they want to be? Are they driven to win? Is that what it is, that they want to rack up titles? Or Are they just content to go 86-76, make the playoffs, make some half-assed acquisition at the deadline that makes it look like, to some of you, that they're actually trying, when the reality is that they're really just running a business now, and that what is most important to them is not the number of wins, but the cost per win. So they can win 86 games and get a better cost per win and not win a championship, or they can get a worse cost per win and they can lose in the first round. And I think, sadly, it's that they want the second thing. Jeff Passan of ESPN, who was with us last night, wonders if they feel the same way, although I'm putting some of that in his mouth, if you get the idea. I'm interpreting what he said about how they want to run the organization. And there was something Passan said that also was an indication that people in the organization don't think that ownership is going to spend anymore or spend like it used to. We'll get to that as well when we come back tonight on the Baseball Hour.
We're good. Thank you.
The Baseball Hour with
and I'm going to throw the Milwaukee Brewers out there, and I understand the Red Sox have manifold more resources than the Brewers could ever hope to have. Yep. But when you're trying to operate efficiently, you don't look at a single season as being necessarily like of great paramount importance unless your players are telling you this season and telling you not through words but through their play that this season is something that you need to go spend capital on. Right. The Red Sox, they're trying to build something that is sustainable, and that's a really hard thing to do, and it's even harder when you have budgetary constraints that are put in place by ownership. I mean, if the Red Sox had a bigger budget, and if they were back, well into the luxury tax like they have been in past seasons, it's a completely different story. Go out at that point and spend some of that prospect capital. But if there are no promises that the budget's going to expand, you have to have a decent balance of those young players and those expensive players.
Emphasis on last night that I didn't, and I'm not giving you excuses, but I presume I was just distracted by having Jared here. And again, I can only do one thing at a time. So listening to it in retrospect, and we talked about it some on Felger and Mazz today. And then I want to get to your calls as well. But there's a part of that comment that made it clear to me that Jeff Passan speaks to people in the Red Sox organization and in baseball operations, and that he doesn't necessarily speak to ownership, and so that's one thing to consider. And
Tony, I also wouldn't discount Cora because he was part of the ESPN crew with Jeff Passan and all this stuff. The Red Sox are doing Sunday Night Baseball, and then Passan has the comment.
Very good.
It wouldn't shock me if Cora was venting.
No, very good. I mean, that makes perfect sense. That's a good one, too. And I'll include Cora as part of baseball operations, but that should be specified because he's in uniform. That's totally fair. It absolutely could be Cora, too. And but the point is, he is reflecting what the baseball people think. And the baseball people think that ownership's putting limitations on them. And Passan said it last night. Here's that section again.
The Red Sox, they're trying to build something that is sustainable, and that's a really hard thing to do. And it's even harder when you have budgetary constraints that are put in place by ownership.
There you go. It's even harder when you have budgetary constraints put in by ownership. Why would ownership tell Jeff Passan that? Because it makes them look bad. They wouldn't. But the baseball people would. So there are now budgetary constraints. And it's an important thing to remember. Because this idea that the Red Sox are not issuing a mandate to stay under the luxury tax might be true, technically. But what if the budget, and I'm playing games here, but I think that's what they're doing. What if the budget is $20 million below the luxury tax? In other words, we don't tell them to stay below the luxury tax. We give them a budget, and they have to stay within that. Or something to that effect. You get the idea. But if the Red Sox really wanted to win, they could spend the money. I just don't think they really want to win all that badly anymore. They're more interested in cost per win than they are in the win total. Matt in a car. Matt, what do you got?
Hi, I got a couple things I got to get off my chest. So everyone keeps saying that this team's so close to being a contender and they're a piece away and this deadline so pivotal. Am I watching the same team on the field? You're talking about a team that's one of the leading in errors the last 5 seasons. You're talking about a team that half the lineup can't hit when a lefty's on the mound. They have to take them out of the lineup. You're also talking about a front office who's unwilling to spend money and a pitching staff that has one obviously ace and then 2 starters who are on and off. And you're talking about that you're a piece away from winning a World Series.
Okay, so Matt, slow down 1 second again. And I don't know who you're talking about that said a piece, but can you make yourself better for this year and next year through a trade? Does it have to be can you only make a trade if you think you're going to win the World Series?
No, absolutely not. But I keep reading reports and hearing things that people say that this is a very pivotal deadline. And I would agree with that to an extent. But to say that to bring in a Joe Ryan and have him for a few extra years is going to be the key change. I think there's plenty of other places like these errors that you're making. How can you be a team that's going to contend when you lead in errors and play the worst defense in baseball? I think that's...
No, I got you. I'm going to let you go just because I got other people that want to get on. So we can debate what the most important thing is. I do think Joe Ryan would be the biggest pickup you could make because I think Joe Ryan's a legitimate front-end pitcher. You put him with Crochet, all you got to do pretty much on average is go 1-2 in the other 3 games. Because you're going to come out of the first 2 with a winning record if you have those 2 guys. More often than not, you are going to win 3 out of 5 with those 2 guys in your rotation. So if you can come in with a winning percentage, 560, 570, you're in damn good shape. So I would absolutely take Joe Ryan. See, this idea that you can only add if you think you're going to win it is asinine. No, you can add to make yourself better now and in the future, too. You can make yourself a real trade is what you can do. And at the same time, you can help your young guys develop by putting them in big, meaningful games. And, did I mention that it's also important to the fan base and the organization that you show, again, that you want to win and that there's a desire to win and a mission to win, because that would do a lot for the culture that allegedly you wanted to improve when you sent Rafael Devers packing. Could use his bat right now. Do you really think they traded Devers because of the culture, or do you think they traded him because they wanted to dump the contract? Max in a truck. Max, go ahead. What do you got?
Hey, what's up, Mazz? So I'm with you. I don't think the Red Sox really want to win. I think they got to. I would love to see him trade for Joe Ryan and maybe a right-handed bat for that middle of the lineup and fill that void where when they got rid of Rafi Devers. But I don't see him. I'm not getting my hopes up for it because they don't want to spend any money. This free agent market, this upcoming offseason for pitchers, is trash. Thanks for taking my call, Mazz. Have a good night.
You too, Max. So listen, here's what I would tell you. I don't know if it's that they, to say they don't want to spend money, they're still in the top half of Major League Baseball. Not that they should get credit for that, but they don't want to extend themselves anymore. And winning takes extending yourself. So, you want to make money, you can do it without extending yourself. Again, cost per win. If they gave out, first of all, here's the irony of the whole thing. When it comes to cost per win, they kind of suck at it. That's the other part of it. They kind of suck at it. Like this whole idea of we want to operate more efficiently, they haven't operated efficiently really since they've been here. Unless you count the championship years, I would tell you that those years were generally worth it. So is this why? Like winning costs too much money? They don't want to do it anymore? Is that the logic? God, I hate that. What is the whole point of that? So you want to have some sort of competition for cost per win? Well, then go compete in the business world. This is a sports world where the games are played on the field. And I know it's lucrative and it's big business. But in the same breath, it's really about something more emotional than that. The sports the teams are supposed to be, they're really a trust for the public. It's a trust that you take care of for the fans. That's what they are. And you should know that going in. I don't mean to preach and sound like idealistic about it, but at the end of the day, it's about winning. Let's win some games. That's what it's about. Jimmy, do I have time to play one more passing cut?
Yeah, why not?
Can let's play passing number 2, if you would.
That the added benefit you get from a Joe Ryan or a Mackenzie Gore or a Chris Bubich right now, I just don't know that it's worth all those players that you're going to be giving up unless you really, truly, firmly, deeply believe that you have figured something out so that you can crank out prospects like the big 3 and Kyle Teal and Garcia and Arias and on consistently. Now, some organizations can do that. That's one of the things the Dodgers have done. They've done a remarkable job at player development. And if the Red Sox have enough faith in their system to believe that they can continue to do this, then I would get that trade. It's just going to be a lot in cost. And you're going to look at the model, and the analytical model is going to sit there and tell you this is a bad trade. And you have to have the conviction to look at this, this objective thing that you use to help you guide a lot of your decisions and say, you know what, screw you. We're not listening to you at this point because winning now is too important. And I can see that. As a fan, that's almost what you hope your team does, right? That they are so committed to winning that they say, forget now or forget the future. Let's focus on now. But I don't see this front office operating that way.
And nor do I. I don't see them operating this way anymore either. And this is the part that sucks. And you know what? Here's the part that I think is, ironic. The long-term approach is easy. You just don't do anything risky. Piece of cake. Keep drafting. And by the way, the player development thing, the Red Sox kind of suck at that too. I mean, these guys come up. Does Christian Campbell look ready for the big leagues when he got here?
No, and in fact, he's struggling right now in Worcester.
Okay, so he wasn't developed properly. Christian Campbell was not developed properly. Was Jaron Duran ready when he came to the big leagues? Nope. Was Brian Bayo ready? Nope. Half these guys Raffaello wasn't ready either. Half these guys get here, and they don't even know how to play they don't understand the finer points of the game. They don't hit cutoff men. They don't advance runners. They don't play winning baseball. So they have to be developed to the major league level. So they're not ready when they get here, but they're cheap. So you sell fans on the hope of tomorrow, and they buy it because they're eager for a winner. They eat it up, and the ones that don't eat it up get replaced by the visiting team's fans because you have a ballpark that's a museum. And you can keep turning a profit, have high operating income, all that sort of stuff, and win 81 games a year. But those of you that want to win, you get left in the cold. 617-779-0985. There were a couple of things that happened in the game last night that I do want to touch on. We'll continue with your calls. And this discussion is going to be ongoing right up until and through the deadline because there is no other story with the Red Sox anymore. There isn't. They are a B- organization. They used to be an A. For a time there, they were an A. And the bad years were 86 wins, like 2006. Now, they're 81 and 81. And the good years are 86 wins.
That's a C team, Tony. That's not a B-. That's a C. That is average.
So, I mean, I'm really talking about more right now. That right now they're about a B-.
Too high.
So, they're better than average, but not by much. C+ maybe, Jimmy. You might be right. Ryan Garvin's got your headlines. Don't go anywhere. And I want to get to, again, a couple of things that happened in the game last night, some of the commentary from the ESPN crew as well that validates something I said earlier in the week. We'll do that when we come back.
Sports Hub headlines presented by
Calls first. Frequent caller here, Ray in Revere. I know he's a big-time critic of ownership. What do you got, Ray?
Tony, I just want to say I've come to I cut the cord a couple years ago with the Red Sox. I literally don't have Nesson anymore. And my approach, and I recommend this for a lot of guys like me who love baseball, I'll come back when John Henry actually makes a real commitment of winning. Tony, he hasn't done an interview. He hasn't taken a question from the media in over 10 years. And when he does these interviews with like a British financial publication like the Financial Times, it's like he has contempt for the fans. You know, he should just sell the team. But, you know, I don't watch baseball anymore because of that man. But I did watch them last weekend when they were playing the Cubs. And Wrigley Field was just going crazy. It's not about whether he's going to make money. He's going to make money if he spends another $100 million. He's just ridiculously greedy at this point. Sell the team to one of these faceless billionaires. There's thousands of them walking the planet. Find one who wants to win.
So, Ray, there are a lot of people that feel like you do. And and listen, you're entitled to do whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do or what not to do. So a lot of people feel like you do. The one thing I'll say is they don't miss you at the ballpark. So from that standpoint, and I understand you think for you. I get that. And I'm not criticizing you for it. I'm just telling you that ballpark allows him to get away with it. So what happens is if the attendance at Fenway drops in terms of the local fans who are attending the game, you know what happens? They sell them to people from L.A. who are coming into town to see the Dodgers play, get to visit Fenway Park while they're here and enjoy the New England weather during the summer. You know, maybe go out in the North End, see some of the historic sites in the area. You know the drill. I don't need to tell you this. So that's call it leverage, call it whatever you want. They have that ballpark. They have leverage. Dean's in Shrewsbury. Dean, what do you got?
How much imprint do you think Theo Epstein do you think Theo Epstein has with the team now?
Dean, I don't know. That's a good question. He has some because obviously when they signed Alex Bregman, he was consulted in those negotiations, at least according to a story that Jen McCaffrey wrote. My guess is that in some of those deals, whether it's Garrett Crochet or what other trades that they've made along the way, he's been consulted on the big ones. And I would hope that he was, or I would hope that he has been, because I would trust Theo's experience, especially when you have a GM that's never run an organization before. And I say GM, Craig Breslow's the chief baseball officer, but you know what I mean? The guy running the operation didn't have any experience doing the job when he came here. I guess my question is, Dean, I'm sorry, I gave you the thought. I didn't. Is there a reason you're asking the question?
Well, because I think he does. I agree with you. I think he does have a huge imprint on the team, and I think that even with us not spending, hopefully we go at least to the luxury tax if we're not going over. But I think he's the best person for the job, and I think he might be able to get through to Henry to spend more money. I know you guys talked about this in the past, so if Henry stops being a cheapskate, maybe we have Theo to thank for it.
So, Dean, I wonder about that, too, because I do think that Theo's got a lot of sway. I mean, look, Theo's he's got obviously a tremendous reputation throughout Major League Baseball for having accomplished what he's accomplished. And just because, and take the Cubs out of it, just from 2004 alone, there's a level of trust that people have in Theo Epstein that they probably don't have in any other person that's ever run the Red Sox organization. I mean, I'd be hard-pressed to find anyone else that gets the level of trust that and buy-in that Theo Epstein gets. So if he's out there doing more than we think he is, then the Red Sox would be smart to publicize it. And they probably don't want to make Breslow look bad, but to Dean's point, he's about the only one that really draws any sort of trust from the public. Theo's the one. Now, does Theo want to run the Red Sox anymore? My answer is probably not. He's not in his 30s. He's got a family. He's got his fingers in all kinds of other things. or his hands in all kinds of other things. My understanding is he's done a fair amount with the golf over at FSG as well. And I would venture to guess that Theo would be consulted on any and all things sports related. I don't think his knowledge is exclusively in baseball. So this is kind of a lousy way to say it, but I have to wonder whether he outgrew the job here anyway.
He did. Once he goes to the Cubs as team president and wins a World Series, like, he's not going backwards.
I don't think so either. But what I'm saying, Jimmy, is I'm not sure he even wants to be like, if you were to say he would be the Red Sox team president.
He doesn't want that.
I don't think he wants that either. I think he's moved on. And I can't say I blame him. So now look, can he bring along Breslow and guide him and help produce the next Craig Breslow the way that, whether Theo wants to admit it or not, Larry Lucchino helped create the next, Larry Lucchino, for lack of a better word. And Theo's totally different than Larry. But, he got the opportunity from him, and he learned some things from him that were very valuable.
But, Tony, with regard to that and Lucchino and Theo, they were willing to fight John Henry on what they needed to win.
Correct.
Do you feel like Sam and Craig Breslow or Sam and Chaim Bloom have that same fight?
Nope.
Like they go directly to ownership and go, we need this to win a World Series? Because I don't feel that as a fan and as a media member.
Me neither. And Dean and Shrewsbury's point, Jimmy, is that maybe Theo can still offer that. So, and maybe he can. I don't know. But my guess is they're now partners, and he doesn't work for John Henry anymore as much as he works with him. So, and why beat your head against the wall? When the owner wants something, the owner wants something. When he was younger, Theo wanted to win. He was establishing a career and a reputation and a resume, a legacy. He's done that. So now he can do other things that will get him a newer legacy, a bigger legacy.
He should be future commissioner of baseball, and I know that's a side topic, but
Jimmy, I almost think that job is beneath him. I really do. Like, part of me thinks that Theo doesn't want to do that either. He's bigger than that.
President of the United States, Theo Epstein. Let's go.
I'm just mean that he can. Theo, I don't think he's going to be a billionaire becoming the commissioner of baseball. You know what I mean? I think he could be a billionaire as a partner at Fenway Sports Group and putting together massive deals. So I think that is where he's headed. If he's not there already, he might already be there. Two things in the game last night. Let's just go to 55, Jimmy. You want to do that? Two things in the game last night that I've been meaning to get to. Okay, one was a double play that the Red Sox turned in the sixth inning of this game. Now, it didn't, the Phillies had one man on, but it didn't necessarily kill a rally or alter the game, but there was something about the double play that struck me. Okay, so here's the actual play-by-play of the double play.
Another one hard hit. This could be two. Rafaela Story to first. And did he hold the bag? Yes. Nice play by Romy Gonzalez after a good hard slide by Marsh. And they get the double play on Kepler.
Rafaela. That's probably one of the best center fielders in baseball. He can play short. He showed it last year. Playing second base, great pivot. And a great pick by Romy.
So that's Eduardo Perez focusing on Rafaela in that double play. Rafaela started that double play. Now, normally, a lot of times in the double play, you'll look at it and say, look at the guy in the middle. He's sort of this, he's the pivot. So that's the key guy. He wasn't. That was Story last night. And Story did a good job too. The way the ball moved from Rafaela to Story to Romy Gonzalez was big league double play. And the Red Sox have not turned many of those this year, and they wouldn't have turned the one last night if anyone other than Rafaela was playing second base. That was a legit big league double play. And what made it tough is that Rafaela had to go to his left. So he's moving away from second base, is able to spin his body clockwise and make a throw to second base, a feed to Trevor Story. And I say a feed, but it was really closer to like a 70-foot throw. Okay, this wasn't like a little flip in the middle of the diamond that makes it easy and it's a layup. He had to throw the ball, basically, let's call it 70 feet, He threw a seed quickly and right on the money. Right on the money. Story didn't have to reach to his left. He didn't have to lunge. He didn't have to put his glove up and then bring his arm down. It hit him right in the chest or closer to the right shoulder. It was a freaking blow dart. And then Story, because he was fed properly, gunned it to first base and had, he pulled Gonzalez off the bag a little bit, but Gonzalez did a good job staying on the bag. But please, that was a piece of cake. The toughest part of that whole double play was Rafaela, and he freaking nailed it. He nailed it. It was excellent. So not only is he their best outfielder, he might be their best infielder. That's number one. Number two, Jordan Hicks came into the game. Interesting how after using him in extra innings the other night, Cora this time brought him into the game in the 7th inning to face the bottom of the lineup. So it was the bottom of the lineup again, but this time in the 7th instead of with the game being on the line. So I think we've seen the end of Jordan Hicks in extra innings, at least I would hope. But I was intrigued by the discussion between Carl Ravitch, David Cohn, and Eduardo Perez, who all seem to agree with me that Jordan Hicks isn't very good despite his stuff.
Hicks's issues, his fastball velocity is good. He doesn't miss barrels inside.
Inside at 100.
Sinker, sweeper, four-seamer, splitter, and slider. He has not gotten guys to chase. 2-1, and this is an easy play in center for Duran. Stott retired for the first time.
It's a great point, Carl, because you got a guy who throws 100 miles an hour, but doesn't have a really high strikeout rate. Has a low strikeout rate. Hasn't figured out how to use that stuff to get in a position to get swings and misses.
It reminds me a lot of Brusco Graterol from the Dodgers as well. Another guy that throws triple digits but does not get a lot of swing and miss. It's soft contact. It's elite stuff, but the ball most likely stays in the plane of the bat path.
So there you go. Throws 100 miles an hour, doesn't strike people out, doesn't miss a lot of barrels, and that's what Ravitch said at the beginning. It's exactly what I was saying. I was using Hansel Robles as a comp. Brusco Graterol is another one. He's the guy that the Red Sox initially wanted in the deal with the Dodgers when they traded Mookie Betts. Instead, they ended up getting, I think it was Jeter Downs or Connor Wong.
Both.
I know, but one of them was thrown in instead of Graterol. I don't remember which one. I think it was Jeter Downs who was added to the deal. So think of that. The Red Sox got Alex Verdugo, Connor Wong, Jeter Downs, all three of whom suck. And the guy they wanted, Graterol, they then backed out of because there was some sort of injury history, and I think ownership was worried about whether Graterol was going to be able to stay healthy. As it turns out, Graterol really has never lived up to his potential either. He never became the late inning reliever that they thought he was going to become. So they got him all wrong. 4 for 4. I've overshot my welcome.
It just proves that when you actually go and get a star player, the prospects actually kind of don't matter.
Exactly. Yep. I've overshot my welcome. Ryan's going to have your headlines here in a moment. Jimmy, who's got the night show tonight?
Joe Murray?
Oh, it is Joe Murray. I haven't seen him, so I didn't know. Joe's been filling in other places. So Joe Murray will have it for the balance of the night. Ryan will get you caught up with the latest from Patriots training camp here shortly, and we'll catch you next time.
This is the Baseball Hour on the Sports Hub.
Having enough